And here we are back on the Python Institute. We are in our very first lab, lab number 2.1.1.7. Now, again, if you're not quite sure how I got here, when I went into the Python Institute, you can either click previous and next in order to keep going until you get to page number 2.1.1.7. I can click these chevrons up here. They do the same thing for forward and backward. Or I can click on the hamburger menu, and let's go all the way up to the top here. Clicking back, I can see I'm now in module number 2. So we finished with module 1, section 1 of that, or section 1.1 of that. And then we can see down here page number 7. Very first program we're writing. So over here on the left hand side, we have our objectives and the scenario and description about what we're doing. On the right hand side, we have where we will write our code, and then down at the bottom is our console where we can actually see the output of the commands. So here we can see the objective is to become familiar with the print statement, or the print function, excuse me. And then we want to experiment with some Python code. And they have a scenario here. They talk about using the print command. And so in our lab, we want to use the print function to print the line, "Hello Python." Use double quotes around the string, it says. So let's go ahead and try that. So on the right hand side in the sandbox, I'm going to start off with the print statement along with parentheses around it. This has to be all lowercase for Python to work. Remember, there is a difference between lowercase print and uppercase print. And you can even see it right here on the sandbox. Lowercase print is blue, which means it recognizes it as a command, whereas the uppercase print is black. So it doesn't quite know what to do with that. So we are using the print statement, and it says, go ahead and type in "Hello Python" using double quotes. So it's going to be inside of these parentheses. I'm going to use the double quotes. So that's the shift, and right next to my enter key on my US keyboard is the double quotes. And then I'm going to go ahead and type in just "Hello Python." And now if I run this, because I always like to run small changes at a time to make sure I understand what's going on. Now if I run it, down in the console, it should print out "Hello Python." All right, so that was bullet point number 1. Second bullet point, having done that, use the print function again, but this time print your first name. So I'll go ahead and do that again with the double quotes, and I'll go ahead and print my first name. And just to be sure, let's go ahead and run that, make sure it still works the way we expect it. And we can see, yes, it did. Although it did also keep the original "Hello Python" in there. So it kind of looks like maybe it printed it twice, but it didn't. This one was from the first pass, and then this one was from the second pass. If that bothers you, there is this recycle button right here, which will actually clear out the console. And now when I rerun it, it will be completely clean. All right, third step, remove the double quotes and run your code. Watch Python's reaction. So let's, I'm not actually going to delete it. I'm just going to do it on another line here. Oops, I don't want any quotes. So let's just do it with no quotes right there. And now I run it. And it takes a second since this is running across the internet. And it tells us, hey, there is an error here on specifically line number 3 in the module. So it says right here's the line, told me it was line number 3, which just happens to line up with this right here. And it says, hey, there's an error on line number 3. And it just so happens it's because there's no quotes around it. Let's see, next one, remove the parentheses and put back the quotes. So let's remove the parentheses and put the quotes back in. And now if I run it, it's going to throw a different error, but it will still be an error this time. Let's see, that was, actually let me refresh that and then run it again. There we go. So now it's just saying, hey, on line number 3, this, and it specifically says syntax error, invalid syntax. That's kind of like when you're talking to somebody and they start saying words that you don't really understand, and you're like, are you speaking English? I don't understand what you're saying. That's really what Python is saying right there. It's saying, I don't know what you're trying to do here. Go fix something else. Go rephrase what you're talking about. Okay, and then lastly, experiment as you can. Change double quotes to single quotes. Oh, let's try that. So I'll put the parentheses back, and this time I'll delete the double quotes and I'll put in single quotes. Use multiple print functions on the same line and then on different lines. Well, let's see if there's any difference between single quotes and double quotes. Doesn't seem to be. This was my name with double quotes. This is my name with single quotes. So it seems to be about the same. Then says put multiple print functions on the same line. So maybe space print. Something like that, I think, is what they're saying. And that's an error. It's saying invalid syntax. This is kind of like the teenage girls that I always knew that would always talk really, really fast, and so you never really understand what they're saying. Here, they're not taking a breath between what they're saying, so if we put those on separate lines, then they should run just fine. And there you have it. That is Lab 2.1.1.7 from the Python Institute.